Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Arwin, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, Neil, Eli, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
About time.
Good morning.
Good morning. We all doing well? I'm not. Everything's going wrong. But it's all good. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, the curvature's gone. The very thing they said proved that the horizon, they don't even use that anymore. They gave up.
That's not true. They used it yesterday.
What's going on for horizons?
Hello, Domino's Pizza. Can I take your order?
If the horizon was Earth curved, you couldn't measure an angle from the surface of Earth.
Yeah, you need a flat baseline to acquire an elevation angle in the first instance.
Let me give you my answer that was said to me yesterday. Why would I want to?
To assert that the Earth's a sphere.
To find your way around on it.
I'm talking to a guy right now who asked for the best evidence that the globe model is incorrect, and he would pay out $10,000. And I said, the horizon. He said, what about it? I said, it's not geometric. He said, what do you mean? I gave him a screenshot of what the definition of the horizon and the calculation to the distance to the horizon is a consequence of us living on a sphere with a radius of 3,959 miles. And he said, what does it mean exactly? Why are you offering up money to debunk something and you don't understand the fundamental claims of said thing?
Does this surprise you, Eli?
No.
Well, you know, it may be even a better debunking to know that if the horizon was Earth curved, then you couldn't measure an angle from the surface of Earth.
Yeah.
And, you know, nothing against the Black Swan, because it's a great globe debunking, but, you know, for the measurement to be taken, Earth has to be flat.
Yeah, but Eli has the Black Swan down now. I remember, I'm not knocking you, Eli, but I remember a few months ago, you were stumbling around 24/7 trying to, you know, explain the Black Swan. So you really impressed me with that now.
I don't believe you, but okay.
Fair
It's
enough.
about 6 months ago, bro. You did. It was on 24/7.
No.
Maybe people
I've
were
been talking
rumpusing
about the
you.
Black Swan for almost 2 years.
No.
Maybe.
What Neil is referencing, Eli, is your constant effort to reword what you already know in order to give them no way out. As you heard all the responses from them, you brought that in and rethought it the way they are thinking. So you knew it, but now you're trying to deliver it in the way that they're thinking, and that's why you polished up.
It was a Saturday morning.
I'm
There
the
was a lot of
reason.
rumpus.
I'm the reason they all. I'm the reason they all abandoned the geometric horizon, because if you listen to the argument, there's it's non sequitur, because their argument is that actually they're looking at something that isn't visibly or that isn't physically there. So that they created a new, well, it's not even a tangent. I don't know. It's so the bottom line is basically they admitted that they're not talking about the geometric horizon. Ultimately, you're seeing further because, well, refraction and blah, 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 which has nothing to do with not seeing the geometric horizon at all.
It's a thought experiment.
Seeing further.
Well,
Eli.
if you have something in front of you and it's obstructing what's beyond, that's it. And so that was supposed to be what the horizon is, and it's not that.
Right, Eli. And so what they have is a thought experiment.
Maybe I got the wrong guy.
They didn't put a lot of thought into that experiment.
Okay, any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Negative.
Well, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, a football experienced it.
The apparent motion of the stars.
Anybody going to address that? Or is that being left open for me to address?
Sure, baby.
I don't like Coriolis effect. If Earth was turning underneath a football, as asserted by Neil deGrasse Tyson, then it would also turn underneath the blimp that was filming the game, and a hot air balloon, and a drone, and an aeroplane, and anything that leaves the claimed to be non-inertial turning reference frame of a turning Earth. For you to observe from that claimed to be turning Earth an effect known as Coriolis. That effect would be the object seeming to drift away from you because you're turning beneath it. So, for us to observe the effect as per Neil deGrasse Tyson's description of a ball seeming to curve as you observe it from the stand because Earth's turning beneath it, then we'd need to see Earth turning beneath hot air balloons, aeroplanes, etc., etc., etc. Now, if your turning Earth is turning beneath an aeroplane, then a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would only take an hour. It doesn't. We don't observe this effect. Nothing's drifting. We don't have Earth-based Coriolis effect. We'd have to have it if we were turning. Go ahead.
Correct.
But we have something new, a new word, Neil's description.
Eli, is that 10,000 still available?
Well, he has to understand geometry first.
Speaking of which, can you have Earth turn without a radius?
No.
You'll need R for that, and they'll need a flat plane to get it. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
I think they claim the angle measurements taken from a flat plane are proof of its radius, if you can make sense of that.
Yeah, that just proves that Earth's a flat plane, doesn't it? Proves that you can use the fact that Earth's a flat plane to derive the idea and notion and philosophy that Earth's a sphere, if you've got a flat plane to measure in the first place to assert it.
Well, if you had a radius, you'd have an arc on the surface if this was a sphere. Since we don't experience any arc lengths or arc blockage on the surface, then no, we're not a sphere with a radius because there's no R value. It's not where it should be. If we were, it should be where it's supposed to be, as Eli says, but it's not there.
And if it was where it was supposed to be because of the model, then we wouldn't be able to measure the elevation angles to assert the model.
Exactly.
Wow, how things have turned around.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
I've heard
What is
people
the
say it's
sun?
90.
John first. Go ahead, John.
I've heard people say it's 93 million miles away.
They'll need R to assert that. They'll need to assume Earth's a sphere to assert that. They'll need to assume that Venus is the same size as Earth and apply Kepler's third law to give them the scaling values to decide, based on Earth and Venus having the same radius value derived from a flat plane, that they've got a 93 million mile sun.
So if they
What's
need-
93 million miles away?
So if they need R, but they don't have R, then yeah, there's no distance to the sun that based on R, that is.
I mean, you can assert that they've got a 93 million mile sun in a heliocentric model if you accept that Earth is a flat plane to derive an angle measurement to infer that the philosophy of a sphere Earth can give you that distance. You'll need a flat plane for it, in other words. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, if you accept the other stuff is true, then that doesn't seem as bad, does it?
Which other stuff would that be?
All the other housekeeping questions that are self-contradictory, as if you believe in a sphere, if you accept all those contradictions, then believing that a self-perpetuating molten iron core isn't a step too far for you.
It isn't a step too far if you assume that the sky is a vacuum and the Earth is a sphere and the radius value of Venus is the same as the presupposed radius value of Earth when derived from a flat plane. If you can accept all of those things, you're saying it's not too far or too big a stretch to accept that there's a molten iron core at the centre of all those presuppositions. It's not that big a stretch.
Right. It's nonsensical. I mean, you're already in nonsense. You might as well finish it off.
I see. I mean, that's one way of looking at it, I suppose.
The whole core was molten back when the Earth was formed about 4.5 billion years ago. Don't you understand this? The slow cooling of our planet causes the molten iron in the outer core to flow and swirl fast as heat is transported to the mantle. And this gives Earth its magnetic field. It's right there. I'm reading it. Come on, guys.
It's self-perpetuating and pushing up to the mantle for its magnetic properties to be exhibited on the surface because they made it up themselves. No justification for why they're saying it. It's just that's how it is, according to them, right?
Do you see any other evidence of it?
I don't see any evidence of it. Moving on. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon? Wow, keen lot. From yesterday's super enthusiastic, very shareable show to this, things.
Well, they assert gradient pressures caused by gravity and everything being pulled to the center of Earth.
Gravity is a downward vector when they're asserting it in that frame of reference. So they're saying gas goes down. Gravity is down. No, gas does not go down, go boom boom, like solid bonded bouncy balls passing through air. Gas expands in all directions, all vectors.
I guess you need a container then.
Yeah, you can't have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we're breathing would fill that space. Further to that, we wouldn't have ever achieved gas pressure in the first place based on the heliocentric idea of a sky vacuum. Gas would expand out from the surface into the space and never return. We'd never achieve gas pressure in the heliocentric model. Any scientific evidence of gravity, as you mentioned it?
No, there's no such thing.
Well, if you believe there's a phenomenon of gas falling down, and then you manipulate entropy in such a way that it appears as if a denser gas is going down, then can't you assert that as down?
No. Gas still expands in all directions, all vectors.
The only reason gravity even exists for the heliocentric model is because of the globe. How is everything staying on the globe, spinning in those various ways through second law violation called space, a vacuum. So how's everything staying on there? They need an invisible force of some kind. It's never been detected. You can't measure it. It's not, its density, and things heavier in the medium of air will fall down, things lighter will rise up like a helium balloon. And that's because we've got gas pressure within a container.
About any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
I still haven't heard from Dr. Becky. I don't think I'm going to hear from her. Neil's reached out to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I doubt he's going to hear from him. They have only observations and nothing else.
Shout out to Fibrotes for smashing the super chat. Just bring it up on screen. If gravity did exist in the way we are told, shouldn't the moon smash into Earth? What about Mercury and the sun? Where do I begin, Fibrotes? If you want to assume that the lights in the sky have got a physical property to them and they're in an orbital motion around the sun, then you've already got problems. You know what I mean? Further to that, for that motion to be true in that rhetoric, you've got to have a sky vacuum. So you're saying when you beg the question of a second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum and orbital motion, with us moving as a sphere that was derived from a flat plane angle measurement, then why aren't the moon and Earth colliding with one another? I think you can see the problem. I think we've covered all the housekeeping questions, have we not?
Yeah, I had to step away, but sounds good. Well,
Now, if you believe in a globe, all you have to do is go to Anti-Flat Earth channel and preach about how we are a bunch of idiots and we don't understand.
That's what they do.
yeah,
Okay.
but the only people going there are people who think a 90-degree triangle, right angle, has a bulgy bottom.
And Neil.
And you know,
I go there to see what they're saying.
Why?
why?
So I could bring it here, since they don't want to come here.
So on the one hand, I'm very grateful, because it's nice to be kept abreast of what's going on. Obviously, it's the topic we're covering. But when I say there's no need for you to do that, Neil.
They should not be allowed to get away with stating their nonsense when we have fact over here, when we're proving things over here, and it's just they go on their show and say, like, la, 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 whatever they said goes out the window.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to take a stand.
Why?
Neil, they need that place to get away from the pressure that the truth puts on them. So they need a place they can go and vent and do their thing. Allow them this space, or they can't cope with reality. Don't
Okay.
worry about them.
Small potatoes, Neil. There's a group of people, the higher-ups, shall we say, and many of them are part of the designated religious, and I'm saying designated as in the mainstream definition of designated religious aspect of heliocentrism. That would be Scientology. Now, plenty of influencers and so on and so forth are part of that religion, which is what it is. But that religion, with all of those heavy hitters and influencers, isn't something that you're going after. You're not penetrating the circles of Scientology to try and make them understand that we've got demonstrable evidence that debunks their religious belief, which is based in heliocentrism. So what I'm trying to get at is that yesterday I think it was, I was saying, we're in a very tiny corner of the internet, and that it used to be the case that the minority of us was anti-flat earthers. Now it's flipped the other way round, so that they take up the lion's share of this tiny corner of the internet, Neil. But as I say, there's a bigger subset of religious people, defined that way by mainstream, who are very literally promoting the religious virtues of the philosophy of heliocentrism. They're called Scientologists. So given that they have a lot more influence than the clown show people that you visit, why aren't you, going after them? It's a better analogy than saying, why aren't you going after ghosts when we can show that they're not true, for the sake of comparison. In this case, it's directly linked. Scientologists are very literally a religious arm of heliocentrists. Why aren't you going after them?
Why do I have to?
Because they are, I did not just explain this 25 seconds ago, because they're much more influential and disseminating the philosophy that we brace against here, that would be heliocentrism, in a religious way. But it's very much part of the exact same rhetoric. Scientology is based in heliocentrism, so you've got something to challenge them on, and they're much more influential. So I'm saying, if you're going to waste your energy, because I see that as an equal waste of energy, but why not waste it on somebody that's got a much more powerful influence over the Western world in general? Scientologists have got a high profile.
I see what you're saying. I find some things, and I go in a chat on NASA shows, and if I could find a Scientology show, I will. But these are people that directly come against us. And it's like saying 2 + 2 is 10. All right, so let it go. They need to be there. Let them have their belief that 2 and 2 is 10.
Yeah, I agree.
How does it frustrate you guys? I don't understand.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know you're saying in sarcastic tones. I totally agree. Yeah, let them. What possible influence do they have over you unless you interact with them?
You're just letting them define themselves as your enemy at that point, right?
Maybe I'm not explaining myself correctly.
Well, try harder.
We have a certain standard here. Everything we bring here cannot be debunked. Otherwise, they would answer our housekeeping questions. And it's like they're not even hearing us. How does this not frustrate anybody? Why am I the only one getting frustrated with this?
Answers on a postcard to P.O. Box I Couldn't Care Less.
But if you let those people define themselves as your enemy by actually paying attention to them, right, then aren't you kind of putting them up there as if they should be listened to, as if you actually are concerned with what they're saying?
I give up.
Don't give up. Just try and fight your position. Try and put it in. I know it's hard to explain because you're saying.
No, I give up. You just don't understand. We'll just keep going, and we'll be another 10 freaking years here.
What I'm saying is, if you address the trolls, all you'll ever do is address the trolls.
You wrestle with a pig, you're going to get dirty, and the pig likes it.
Well, like I say, I only go in there for about a minute or two to see what they're talking about. And it frustrates me to the point where I don't stay in there. But Chris Berry was in there yesterday. He was arguing his pictures and how much disappears and how much doesn't disappear and why. I thought we debunked that a long time ago, but anyway.
You want a L. Ron Hubbard quote on Scientology, Nathan?
Sure.
It's a Master B. Let me know when it's up on the screen.
It doesn't look like it's come through. If you can just quote it, that'd be brilliant. I can't put it up, unfortunately.
It's not coming through? I show it on mine.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. If you can just...
Okay. Here we go. This is part of many things he said. The head of the Galactic Federation, 76 planets around larger stars visible from here, founded 95 million years ago. Very space opera, solved overpopulation, 250 billion or so per planet, 178 billion on average, by mass implanting. He caused people to be brought to Tegek, Earth, and put H-bomb on the principal volcanoes in Incident 2. And then the Pacific area ones were taken in boxes to Hawaii and the Atlantic area, once to Las Palmas, and there packaged. His name was Zeno. He used renegades. Various misleading data by means of circuits, etc., was placed in the unplants when, through with his crime, loyal officers to the people captured him after 6 years of battle and put him into electronic mountain trap where he still is. They are gone. The place, Confederation, has since been a desert. The lengthy and brutal of it all was such that the Confederation was never recovered. The implant is calculated to kill by pneumonia, etc., anyone who attempts to solve it. This liability has been dispensed with by my tech development. One can freewheel through the implant and die unless it is approached as precisely outlined. The freewheel, auto running on and on, lasts too long, denies sleep, etc., and one dies. So be careful to do only incidents 1 and 2 is given and not plow around and fail to complete one teton at a time. In December 1967, I know someone had to take the plunge. I did and emerged very knocked out, but alive. Probably the only one ever to do so in 75 million years. I have all the data now, but only that given here is needful.
Wow. Obviously all tied up in heliocentric rhetoric. I don't want to hear about the parallels to the most recent events that have happened through 2020.
Oh, Virus is here.
Is he?
Doesn't he have to come in with something? Wasn't he supposed to be here Monday?
No.
Didn't he challenge 10th or something?
No, I posted something in chat and I said, how did you ever get a baseline from a curved surface proto? And Virus jumped in. He said, it's not hard 10th. And then I said, Virus, see you Monday on the live show. This is your time to shine. See you then, thumbs up. So tell us how that's done, Virus.
He's not in voice chat.
No, I was going to say he's not here.
Well, he should be here. It's Tuesday.
Should he be?
He's on the YouTube chat.
No obligation. No obligation.
When you claim you could do something and say that's easy, 10th, then get here and back it up. I don't want to hear talk no more.
I bet you $10 he's going to try to wedge in a geometric horizon in this if he tries.
Forget that. Neil should be a boxing promoter.
No, because he's not the best. I want the best to fight the best. I want Neil deGrasse Tyson on this show, going head to head with Nathan, QE, or, even you, 10th. That's the best against the best.
Never going to happen.
Akumu Virus is an amateur.
What makes you think Neil deGrasse Tyson would be the best person to oppose us? They wouldn't. They'd die on their ass very quickly.
Well, the best in their area, right? They hold him as the champion, right?
No, he's a priest of heliocentric rhetoric. So, in the case of the Coriolis argument, which we detailed earlier, he has to stick to the rhetoric. Your faceless, nameless potato who comes here, they don't have to stick to the rhetoric. They can completely contradict the rhetoric that the globe lays down. Simon Dan, for example, you and your reference frames are ruined? Which ones? The ones that the globe claims to prove drift? Neil deGrasse Tyson's claiming them. 2 reference frames. Earth turning under the football. That's his claim. Because he's made the claim, you can tie him down to it very quickly, because it is heliocentric rhetoric, unlike the anti-flat Earth, anti-globe rhetoric that we have to deal with. Well, we wouldn't expect to see it drifting, says an anti-flat earther. You're never going to hear Neil deGrasse Tyson doing that, which means he isn't competent to face us in debate. They need opponents for us that can deviate from the heliocentric rhetoric in order to get around an argument that we've posed to them. It doesn't matter that they're relinquishing the argument in the first instance if it's some faceless potato. It matters greatly if it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, so he can't do that. Hence, I say he would die on his arse very quickly as soon as he got here. Because he'd have to stick to the rhetoric, and you go, okay, so Earth's turning under the football, Mr. deGrasse Tyson? Yes, it is. That's why we see the drift. Here's my calculation for how much it drifted from the stands as you watched it curve through the goal. I see. Now calculate the exact same drift for the blimp filming the game. What's he going to say? Oh, well, there isn't any. Well, that completely contradicts your nonsense about the ball now, doesn't it, Mr. Tyson? Where's he going to go? Nowhere is the answer, unless he starts lying, which he can't.
Then you would. It doesn't matter. You have weight divisions and you have WBA, WBC. The champion of the WBC could have fought a bunch of chumps to become 30-0, but he's still 30-0. And the guy in the WBC could be fought the best of the best. He's 30-0. Them two got to meet.
Yeah,
That's why this English guy is such a good promoter. Eddie Hearn. He's putting the best against the best.
Okay, well, he's not a boxer, right? So we're talking about something completely different on a completely different, non-comparable level to boxing and weights. It's very different. Let me just read out Fiber Otis' super chat and then we'll get back to this, Neil. This show has helped me get through some serious cognitive dissonance, although I know none of you personally. I find myself thinking what I would have done without discovering this show. Wow, what a fantastic super chat. Thank you very much for the sentiment and, of course, for the support, Fiber Otis. Really do appreciate it. So, no, we're not boxers, and if you did compare us, comparatively, it'd be like saying Neil deGrasse Tyson's a boxer, and what we have to contend with here is highly trained ninjas. It's totally different
Mixed martial
thing.
arts. I got you.
Ninjas that are prepared to stick their knife in their own chest if need be.
Which we would never have to do.
They
Metaphorically
definitely
speaking,
block and punches.
globe foo or whatever we've been calling it.
Ball food.
Ball foo, right? The art of smashing yourself in the face as an argument, as an opener. Like saying, I'll delete my channel if someone can show how a two-dimensional area of equal elevation is flat.
Yeah, everybody was ball food fighting, and they stabbed themselves because they're a bunch of assorted characters.
Y'all are confusing ball jitsu with the ball fu fallacy.
It's
Yes,
close
we are.
enough.
Can you lay it both out while I let Adam in?
Well, the ball fu fallacy is what I call the fallacy that started the globe. Because if you're a heliocentrist, you're a flat earther first. Which, yeah, if you can reconcile that in your mind, you're doing great. But the ball jitsu is the art of taking punishment for your belief.
Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys.
Show's running red hot today.
Look like it was running late. I'm running well late with everything today, but
No, I mean red hot because when I started the live show, it said, no, we're not going to let you render this show through your graphics card. Doesn't work because I've updated OBS. Obviously, fantastic update. So I've had to change it to render everything through the CPU, which means that the CPU is now doing everything, which isn't good. But there we go. Hopefully it'll function till the end of the live show, which will end early today because I started late.
glowing like yesterday's speakers.
Pardon?
Was it on fire like yesterday's speaker story?
No, not like that. As in, just I've got a very hot CPU.
Is it on fire like the sun?
I don't know that the sun is on fire.
It is.
Because you say so.
Because I just made
Don't you need oxygen for something to combust?
Hold on, he's not claiming a heliocentric sun in a vacuum. He's just saying it's fire.
No, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about the burning ball of gas plasma that is the sun and the heliocentric model with the vacuum of space and the Big Bang beginning.
Oh, I see. Then Adam can rip you a new one if he wishes in a moment after I shout out Godzilla 37. I'm going to try and sneak this under the wire just to see if Nathan will catch it in time. Oh, and support the show. Thank you very much indeed, Godzilla. I definitely caught it. No, it's second law of thermodynamics violation. That was going to be Adam's point, and I said that you weren't suggesting the heliocentric sun burning in a sky vacuum. But you were. on their behalf.
Oh, oh, poo. I guess I have to find better things to compare.
We have a date, Nathan, for not virus. I guess still virus, waiting for him to come on. Eli's going to interview on Sunday on the Discord channel.
Gleam says, make sure your graphics card drivers are up to date. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do later on, Gleam. Thank you for suggesting it. It's what OBS said. Your drivers aren't up to date. But it's like, well, I haven't changed anything except OBS. But obviously OBS, when it's updated, needs new drivers, so I'll update my graphics card, and hopefully that'll resolve the problem. But yeah, I do appreciate you suggesting it, even though we're live and I don't necessarily enjoy talking technical, but I do want the show continuing without my PC setting on fire.
Did you catch that?
You mean like the roof?
You wanna? 10th man just said when he's
Sorry.
gonna be interviewed by Eli.
Eli went immediately on mute.
No. It's
Oh
Sunday.
no, because I was doing the joke. Sorry, 10th. I said he said he doesn't want his CPU to be on fire. I'm like, you mean like the roof? But anyway, Sunday, yes. 10th and I are gonna have an interview style conversation over at 24/7. All are welcome, but you're not welcome to talk. Shut your mouth. Take in the information and ask questions after. Thank you.
Very good. Look forward to it. Adam, are you there?
Yes, sir. I keep diving in and out because I'm at the shop, I'm afraid. So
Oh, okay. I may not ask you the question then. I just wanted to get your reaction. I don't know if it might be a one-word reaction if I bring it up and play it for the audience's benefit also. Can you react to something with a few words if I play it? I'm pretty sure you may.
so as well, someone will come in a second, but yeah, go on.
Okay, let's see if I can dig it out. I'm causing dead air by doing this, of course.
Do 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 do.
Here we go.
If you do find me a citation that says everywhere inside of a circle of equal altitude is flat and level, I'll delete my channel. And I'll also delete Simon Dan's channel.
Wait, what?
By doing
You hear that?
Mm-hmm. Where do you go? Desperation, as if you want a one-word answer. If that's really where we've resorted to, that the nature of the earth, the things that are worth arguing is that. They've got nothing within the actual argument. They've just, saying last week, nuances. Find me a citation where it specifically says this, even though it's implicitly obvious from the description, so there would be no point to re-clarify that point.
Okay, that's the bit I want you to focus on as a mathematician. Why is it implicitly obvious from the description?
It's a circle of equal altitude. It's a circle, told you. It's a circle.
Yeah, the clip
Because
I just
it's
noticed
not
that
a cone.
while he grabs that phone call.
I've got it.
I just noticed that at the end of the clip that Mitch sent. I'll just play it through again. Hold on.
If you do
Say
find me a
what?
citation that says everywhere inside of a circle of equal altitude is flat and level, I'll delete my channel. And I'll also delete Simon Dan's channel.
Wait, what?
by doing
It's
Go on, Adam.
Wait,
not
what?
implicitly obvious. It's like saying, find me a citation that states that a circle is round. We're talking about a two-dimensional shape. It's implicit from the description of what you're describing. A circle, its interior surface area will be flat. It's a two-dimensional shape. It can only be that, can't it?
Well, it wouldn't shock me other than the fact that the two words that come after circle, which are no 3 words, Brian, 4 words. If I could count how many elevation, it's clarifying it. What type of circle? A circle that's got the same elevation all over?
The equal elevation places it onto the Earth, and the simple fact that they're saying circle, we all know what a circle is. It's two-dimensional, drawn on a flat plane. We understand what a circle is. There's no need to describe circle, is there? And therefore, there's no need to describe the other bit, because it's from your basic understanding of geometry. You understand what a circle is. You understand what a triangle is. You don't try to put a third dimension into a triangle, do you?
If it wasn't for the fact that I know that this is the kind of mentality that we deal with, I would assume that this was just done purely for publicity. In other words, you put out that you'll delete your channel if someone can show that a two-dimensional object that is inherently flat is flat. That, to me, strikes as being just a publicity stunt. We'll be talking about him, therefore that's good, right? But then I know what we're actually up against. I know what these people are like. They do actually think they've got a point with this, I assume, based on past experience. Just quick shout out to Chief Brody, or Chef Brody. Is it Chief? Chef? Chef Brody. Here you go, Nathan, for a fan for your CPU. Thank you very much indeed.
Steven Seagal?
Pardon?
Chef Brody's Steven Seagal, isn't it?
In Under Siege?
No, Chief Brody's in Jaws.
If it's Chef Brody.
He's not an ordinary chef.
Here we go.
We know that.
Shout out to Goldie McKinnon. Love starting my day with your shows. Big love from South Florida. Oh, thank you very much.
Well, isn't it easier to talk about the semantics of the word circle than address how you have an angle from a curved adjacent?
Exactly. It's much easier, as Adam pointed out, to argue about some minutiae that's nonsensical than to address the fact that you need a flat plane to gain an elevation angle measurement. Earth must be flat to claim you're on a sphere.
By the way, it's Chief Brody.
Chief Brody.
Read. That's the way it's spelled. Chief Brody. And he was the chief in Jaws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and whatever else.
Brilliant. Chief Brody. Was that it? So yeah, you need a flat Earth to make these claims. We're pointing it out on a daily basis now. To assert that you've got a radius value, to measure elevation angles, to Polaris, to derive sphericity, you need to start by measuring flat Earth elevation angles. What's that you say? Find a citation to prove that a circle is a circle and flat when it's a two-dimensional object, and the qualifier is an area of equal altitude, meaning it's the same altitude all over the circle, which is 2D. We need to prove that that's actually flat. No. You need to demonstrate how you can acquire an elevation angle if the ground you're standing on is curving away from you to a geometric horizon we debunk with the black swan. That's the actual argument.
Do you remember when Brian was talking to Proto and had this question directly at Protothad, and Proto answered that the radius would go through the Earth at that time? And so this is the situation here. So if you take that one guy who came in with the orange and he put different size glasses over the orange and took a permanent marker and made circles around an orange and say, see, this is a circle of equal altitude. Then when Proto comes in, he says, because Brian says, well, it's got a radius and that's got to be a straight line because all radius lines are straight. And then Proto said, yeah, it goes through the Earth. Oh, really? Now we got a bigger problem. Because now your circle is 2D, it has to go through the Earth, slicing part of the cone, the top part of the Earth off, and all your distances will be off because the arc length is different than a straight length any day.
Yeah, but they have more of a chance to dilute the conversation there, though, don't they?
Yeah, that's all it is. It's an attempt to dilute the conversation into obscurity.
Yeah, I just want to point out to the audience that in order for them, for their circle of equal altitude, it can't work on that bulgy ball of theirs. It has to go through it. And that's not the way it's described in the navigation books.
No, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that the reason he takes it there is because he doesn't have an answer to the first question.
Yeah, how can you acquire an elevation angle off a curved surface or with a curved adjacent?
That being said, and that's true, John, they have to now say something else. And in saying something else, they bury themselves deeper, is all I'm saying.
But I'm saying that's the point, is if they can get it further away from the point that they conceded the argument and continue to argue over nonsense.
Agreed.
You know,
Totally
that's
agree.
what,
It's a tactic. I get it.
yes.
But if you hear
yes,
that, if
that's
you're an
exactly-
outsider and you come along to Craig's channel and you hear him laying down this challenge and you go, oh, this should be interesting. And the challenge comes and you're like, okay, what you're saying is your opponents need to prove that a 2D circle is flat. And that proves we're on a sphere Earth radius 3959 because this is a really important point, because this proves what exactly? That you'll delete your channel if someone can show you that a 2D circle's flat. Wow. What exactly are you trying to achieve with this? Other than leaving a route in to lie about deleting your channel when someone proves you completely idiotic, as we're doing daily. He's not going to delete his channel. But that's presumably the other reason he's done it in that method. So you've got two things for people to focus on that aren't the argument. Whether or not he'll delete his channel and whether or not a circle's flat or not. It's crap. They've got no rebuttal. They have to concede the argument. They have to concede how an elevation angle is measured by way of what an elevation angle is defined as. So far, we're yet to have somebody define what an elevation angle is when asked.
Yeah, it's a measurement up from the horizontal.
If you're watching this
They're in
live,
trouble now.
if you're fair enough, you've cited something, or you may cite something to back that. If you're in the comments and you're watching this after the fact, so not live, because I don't think you can comment while we're live. You might be able to, I don't know. But go and look it up. Type it into Google. Type in elevation angle. And just cut and paste what you get into the comment section. I just want to see what people come up with. I've got about 10 of them that I just went and rattled off when this argument first started. But I'd like to see what people post in the comment section. Just go and do it. Just Google search elevation angle measurement and see what you can come back with, and just put quotation marks around it. Say where you've got it from, if you can be bothered. I don't mind if you don't, but ideally put quotation marks around it so you can see that it's not you saying it, it's you quoting it from a particular source. And yeah, just cite it. Let's see what we come up with, because so far our opponents are scared of citing what an elevation angle is. That's a fact. Why? Well, because it proves Earth's flat. And the measurement defines Earth as what it is, because it couldn't be any other way to get this measurement that they then use to make Earth a sphere. So yeah, leave it in the comments. I'd appreciate to see what people come up with. Probably exactly what I've got already, but it'd be nice to see if there's some new ones. Plus, it'll trigger fundies. Just doing that little Google search and posting it as a comment will trigger a lot of anti-flat earthers. You'll see when you get a bazillion responses, because the citation itself proves Earth's flat, and they won't like it. And they'll start arguing against the citations, I absolutely assure you, below, with red herrings and obfuscations and details of how we're stupid and don't understand, with a lengthy explanation about doing it on a flat plane, which I've got multiple times so far. I'll go through these long comments that people use. You don't understand how it's using a sphere. And then they give you a lengthy explanation, and about halfway through it'll describe measuring the elevation angle. So you just take that bit, put it in quotes, and go, you'll need a flat plane for that. Can't get an elevation angle from a curved surface.
Yeah, halfway through they'll start agreeing with us.
Yeah, basically. They have to concede the point, and when they go and get citations, it's going to say the same thing we're presenting here, because that's where they get them from. They're all globe Earth citations that we've been using. So when they detail getting 90 below the star, that means you've got a flat plane to get that. And they'll all cite them. They'll cite them without realising that they're proving a flat plane in their own citations. It's hilarious.
Well, Tech Man said from the beginning he's getting all of this from their books. Their books of what do you call
Navigation.
Navigation, yeah.
Celestial, Astro.
It's all their books. We didn't write any
Salvage.
books.
Elevation angle. The elevation angle used interchangeably with altitude angle is the angular height of the sun in the sky measured from the horizontal. Both altitude and elevation are also used to describe the height in meters above sea level. The elevation is at 0 degrees at sunrise and 90 degrees when the sun is directly overhead, which occurs, for example, at the equator on the spring and fall equinoxes. Now, if you look at the picture in Master B, they're using the equatorial plane, a flat surface, to get their elevation angles.
Talking of which, Paula says in there that apparently Mctoon is in the Discord server.
Okay, well, we'll have to get to him after I round out this live show. So with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a Premiering stream, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
All these people who wanted to talk to you and me, we're here 5 days a week. Come and talk to us. I'm not going to your channels.
Correct. You're here on Flat Earth Debate. You have hit such a vein. Let's just say we have hit a vein here. And Mctoon's supposed to be coming, so let's see what this.
Is he unmuted yet?
I said to Paula to unmute him. She said, okay. Guarantee for some reason he won't be able to get in here. That was a good thing he did. I agree with that. That was a while ago, though, right? Around that time.
I feel like y'all are just looking for
like somewhere.
Looking for a fight.
Yeah, y'all are just looking.
No, we want them to present an Urkel of equal altitude so we can make fun of how small it is.
It is called Flat Earth Debate. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but if you're a heliocentrist, you have to be a flat earth.
Well, how do you use circles have to be parallel?
Hey, you'll need a flat plane for that.
Aspect of the conversation that's a non sequitur.
Well, you're just going to need a flat plane to do it.
Well, maybe they can take their time and research and circle back to us when they have the answer.
Maybe. What happened to MC2? I nipped away for a
Circle
second.
back. His name is Mctoon. We're waiting for him to come in.
He was here. When I stepped away, he was here. What's going on?
Yeah, but you ended the show. I told Paula to tell him to join the show. Oh, he joined when you were ending it?
No, but I haven't ended it. It's the after show. I even said,
right.
Oh, he's not here. I assumed someone moved him.
I think he fled.
And he then complained that he was muted. That
oh dear.
You didn't want him. That you didn't want him on the show. I've been asked to come here live. Can I join the live show? Yet I can't. Server muted.
Everyone gets server muted.
Complained that he was.
He knows that everybody's server muted when you first come on.
This is an
So
old trick.
stop. Yes,
This
it's a
is-
trick.
This is an old trick. We extend our apologies. Tomorrow come and you will not be muted and you can't use it as an excuse again.
I don't know when he got here.
This
I
is
didn't
the
notice-
oldest trick in the ladies' handbook.
As I say, I didn't notice him arriving, otherwise I would have taken him off mute. So I'll just take responsibility. My bad, MC Toon. I didn't notice. To my, in my defence, I had lots on my plate today. Lots of things are going wrong. I'm monitoring my temperatures of the PC more than I'm monitoring the Discord. My bad. Normally I'd notice and had taken you off mute in the live show. Plus we ended the live show about 10 minutes early for the same reasons.
10 minutes late.
Well, in terms of duration, it's 10 minutes early in duration.
The show is still going to go out, okay, as unheard when you play the uncut and after show. So he could have came in.
These guys really want to watch you beat the crap out of an unconscious opponent at this point.
Yes. What's wrong with that?
I don't know.
The debate's over.
Maybe MC2
There's a whole market
like
for that.
you say, it was just a ploy to save face, given that we've figured out who the actual organ grinder was, and that was Protothad. You know, two stooges would be Bob the Science Guy and MC2.
McToon.
Or McToon, whatever you want to call him. I don't think I've ever spoken to the guy, so I don't know what he's called. He's never actually said to me, my name is, so I don't know what to call him. Am I right in that? Has MC2 never actually made an appearance? Actually been on the show? I can't recall.
No.
MC2 never being
No,
here.
not on this show. He's debated Witsit a few years back.
So what's he like? I don't really know what he's like. I've seen a couple of clips of him, probably 30 seconds tops, of what he's like as an individual. I've no idea what this person's like.
He follows the rhetoric. Let's put it that way.
He's an anti-flat earther. He reminds me of Charles, but he's less gross. Tries to have some kind of be an example of decency, but at the same time, he is an anti-flat earther, doubling down liar when you push him. You know,
I know exactly what you mean by gross.
Know,
but do you want
seems...
just Shrouding? Hold on, a better word, a better English word, rather than gross. I knew immediately what you meant. Smarmy. That's the word you're looking for in English.
Nice.
Smarmy.
I like it.
Right, but I think that McToon for an anti-flat earther is actually kind of a nice guy, right? But
that's what I'm hoping to hear. That's what I'm hoping to hear from this. He's actually quite reasonable. In other words, he's not going to come and over talk us for 20 minutes when we start pointing out how his rhetoric's wrong. Or maybe he will.
No. He's kind of a nice guy, not reasonable. He's still an anti-flat earther. So
bummer. Oh well.
Well, you know, it's kind of a hard time to be an anti-flat earther now when Globers are actually flat earthers first. So that's a hard time to be.
I love it, John. You keep that pedal down.
Absolutely.
And like to hear a debate now would be like I said, it'd be watching somebody beat an unconscious opponent. Like, what are you hoping to get out of it?
Well, we might establish that 2D surfaces like circles are flat. I mean, that would be an achievement.
Hey, John, you want to summarize for the audience clearly what you mean that they're already beat up before they even start?
Well, it's the way that the radius of Earth is derived. It uses a flat Earth. They call it a celestial horizon, but it's still, a flat plane to derive it. They have to have a flat plane. So the argument's over.
Excellent. Anyway, Paula says that he wouldn't join the after show. He waited till the live show was just about over, then whined that they didn't let him talk. Oh boy, sorry. Listen, if you got to win an argument, you're there right in the beginning of the show.
I tell you what, I've seen that before when I was in grade school, and like a kid that was afraid to fight would like what he would run away, and as soon as the other guy lost interest, then he would talk about how tough he was and how much the other guy was afraid.
Or wait for there to be 20 people to hold him back, right?
You mean like Cartman?
Yeah. Yes, like Cartman. It's a Cartman move.
Meanwhile, eight or more housekeeping questions have gone unanswered. How many years now?
I don't know, 4 or 5.
Yeah. So today's just one day. How about all the days before? If you have a winning argument, you're not here caring for your fellow flat earthers to set us straight, pun intended.
Hey, you should be banging down the doors.
I'm still speaking to globe earth believers that don't know what I mean when I say the horizon isn't geometric. And when I try to figure out what they mean by asking, what do I mean? They don't even know what geometric horizon means.
So they don't know how to describe Earth curve blocking the bottom of ships and buildings, is what you're saying?
That's correct. I gave him the formula and he said, I don't think that formula is correct. And I said, well, I don't care what you think. Are you saying it's correct? I mean, are you saying
Let me just
you
clarify.
don't know that it's correct?
You gave him his own globe Earth formula, like the back of your hand, because it's what we oppose. And he told you, I don't accept my own formula. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, he said he doesn't think it's right. I said, well, you don't think, you don't know, or you do know that it's incorrect. Which one is it? He said, I'm saying it's incorrect. And then I screenshot him with the formula. And he said, well, how do you know Google isn't wrong? And I said, well, because it's derivative of the claim that the Earth is geometrically a sphere with a radius. That's all it is. And so that's derivative of that. Are you saying that all of that is wrong? Or what are you saying? And he just stopped replying. And I'm like, I can't believe it's because of the rumpuses and all of these people that average people don't understand where we've come in the argument. They don't even know that we have an argument. He's like, I'll offer $10,000. Doesn't even know what a geometric horizon is.
Can I give you a good analogy?
No, I insist on a
So
better
like
one.
in any good religion, okay, when you have factionalism, you need to solve that factionalism by going to the source text, right? So like we've seen in history, when the source text doesn't agree with your interpretation, you just deny the source text and start your own religion.
Well, if you want to try to get it through to him, I thought Nathan done pretty well with Righteous, pointing out that you don't, like when they deny the geometry of the horizon, you say, so you don't think you get high enough and it turns into a sphere and the horizon is the edge of that sphere? Just turn it back on them.
I mean, this just points to our earlier conversation between me and Nathan of how they're going to synthesize all this information. Well, they're just going to have a subjective interpretation. This is my truth, and you have your truth. Get it?
And that's objectively true.
I feel you, Citation.
Yeah. Had a conversation with Zanuck too over the weekend. Or was it yesterday? Actually, it was yesterday night.
Okay. Was that it?
We're talking about refraction, and I was like, yeah, but what does that have to do with the geometric horizon? He gives the example where they I forget what substance they pour over this canister, but you can begin to see the line from the object behind it. And I asked him, I said, yeah, but is the thing that's obstructing it, does that disappear? Is it gone, or is it still there? He's like, it's still there. Yeah, I understand that it's not exactly, it's a non sequitur. I asked for example of what you're claiming. Where is that? He didn't have one.
Okay, so they're claiming that you have refraction in the ambient atmosphere, 7/6R, whatever.
Exactly.
But we know that light refracts. We know that light refracts at different rates. So by the time light arrives to the optic, the colors will be separated, causing chromatic aberration. There is no evidence of chromatic aberration in any image whatsoever, therefore disproving their axiom.
But how do you get to 7/6R?
You'll need a flat plane to measure the R value to imply that you've got light bending at a rate of that R.
Well, we already gave him too much credit. Hold on, need to stop you. It's not about light. 7/6R isn't about light at all.
Correct.
It's about changing the diameter of the Earth. Changing the radius of the Earth. So what they say is, when I see the Earth, it appears to be more flat than it is. So I need to change the radius to match the observation. So when they say terrestrial refraction, what they're actually doing is breaking the radius of the Earth. The only thing that's refracted, broken, is the Earth.
Yeah, 7/6R is a mathematical derivation of an R value. It's nothing to do with refraction. It's labelled terrestrial refraction. Now, the refraction bit has nothing to do with light bending, other than they bait and switch you by showing you light bending in reality and saying that 7/6R, that's the mathematics of them changing their sphere value by your description, is the same as refraction, although they don't explicitly state it. They'll just talk about real refraction and then introduce 7/6R atmospheric refraction without you realising.
Number 79.
Is that equivocation?
Yo, 79,
And that's
over here.
cheating.
Over here, 79.
No, it's
Bingo.
It's not equivocation. It's called category error. It's an incoherent statement.
Or lying.
To bait and switch. They bait you
Right.
with
Isn't that
real
a form of
refraction.
lying?
Well, yeah, it's a con. It's a swindle. So they swindle you by showing you something that occurs in nature. Refraction. Does light bend? Yes, it does. It's called refraction. Snell's law is what they're hijacking. Well, they call that natural phenomena 7/6R. Well, what's 7/6R got to do with light refracting and changing its medium and moving and deviating from straight? Well, nothing is the answer. 7/6R is a derivation of an R value. That's all it is. But they call it refraction and then describe real refraction so that you don't notice that they've changed it to a derivation of a sphere value in Muppet vision.
Don't they need a radius for that R value?
Yeah, and they'll need to get it from a flat plane.
They need 2 suitcases.
Yeah, go watch Matchstick Men. And they do a very literal bait and switch. And they get this guy to think that by giving him, let's say, $10,000, they can change it into a different foreign currency at an exorbitant exchange rate. And they do it with the guy. So he gives them 10 grand. They go and give him a different currency that's worth more, 20 grand. So initially, the bait and switch, they actually physically do give him something. Well, it's the same in the comparison. They give you some information about how light bends. Might show you some sugar water with light bending through it. So they're physically giving up some information to you in the same way that in this con, in Matchstick Men, he has to physically give the guy some money. So when he says, next time, let's do it with 100 grand. So the guy turns up with 100 grand in a suitcase. And the guy opens up his suitcase and goes, look, here's my million in a different currency. Juicy, juicy, right? Then suddenly there's a commotion wherever they are. And he clicks the suitcase closed, reaches behind him and puts a different suitcase in front of him, containing terrestrial refraction. And then just as the guy turns back, he closes the suitcase and hands it to him and takes the 100 grand. Well, the guy thinks he's walking away with refraction, with light bending. What he's actually walking away with is a derivation of an R value. He's been swindled.
Slimy bastards.
Reminds me of the movie The Sting.
The Sting.
That's the
think
perfect
it's worse
con
than
man
that, though.
movie, The Sting, with Paul Newman and Robert Redford. Now that's
Well, wait a minute. Well, if they're using the word refraction interchangeably, why isn't it equivocation?
It is equivocation. They're using the same word with different meanings and changing them. That's an equivocation fallacy.
But I don't know. Maybe I missed the context because what did you say? Citation that it was a category error.
But
Can
yeah,
it
but
be both?
it's possible to have a multifaceted fallacy to come
Absolutely.
to your singular conclusion.
He's correct also, it is a category error, because when you're talking about a derivation of an R value in a Muppet Vision mathematics known as orthographic, that's sod all to do with light refracting. The fact they have the same name is irrelevant when it's described as a category error. It is. They're not the same thing. They're in different categories. One's an R derivation, the other's light bending.
It's insane
Yeah,
that
so
you could
for
have
example, for
multifaceted.
Hold on, Eli went first. Go ahead, Eli.
No, I'm just pointing out how insane that is. That you could have multiple fallacies. That's crazy as hell. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you're affirming the consequence starts with a begging the question fallacy. So if you're overcoming and responding to and affirming the consequent, which take for example the horizon, it affirms that you're going to have a geometric horizon when measured, and you measure it, therefore it's geometric, right? Well, then you respond to that, begging the question, affirming the consequent, multifaceted fallacy. It might even be tied up in false dichotomy, right? They take the geometric horizon, assert that it's going to be a demonstration of if P then QQ therefore P, as just described, but they then ask you how you explain your horizon with your model. So you've got a begging the question, affirming the consequent, formal logical fallacy wrapped up in a false dichotomy, right? With a category error. Yeah, often they're multifaceted.
Yeah, so you ask them, okay, how much refraction is necessary of light to make this observation possible? And they reply, okay, hold on, just let me change the Earth radius real quick.
that's cheating.
The way to overcome this argument is to understand what's happening when they say terrestrial or atmospheric or standard refraction. When a globie tells you about light bending through the sphere-shaped air in our atmosphere, they're immediately invoking terrestrial refraction, which is 7/6 of the radius value. It's a mathematical value in Muppet Vision to change a rate of curve based on an assumption of Earth curve. Nothing to do with light bending whatsoever. Why? Well, because the representation, when you draw it diagraphically, is to show it on a diagram bending from a position that you're not looking from, side on. Definitely nothing to do with light. You're looking at the side of a light ray that doesn't exist. No, that isn't anything to do with light. All perspective removed in that particular aspect. That's orthographic view. We fondly call it Muppet Vision. So it's nothing to do with light when you talk about 7/6R. But they'll talk all about light refracting, won't they? They'll talk about sugar water and light bending, and they'll give you some decent information and have a good understanding and grounding about actual refraction before they bait and switch and change the suitcase for 7/6R.
So it's also non sequitur, though.
It's non sequitur because the light bending, if it's a rebuttal to something, isn't anything to do with what they're using when they say 7/6R terrestrial refraction. It is non sequitur when they describe light bending and then move over with the bait and switch. The two aren't the same thing, are they?
Right. The conditions are not similar. It's really only to demonstrate, oh, light is not just straight lines. That's all. Yeah, we know. Yeah, light definitely bends and does weird things when the medium is very different.
Well, who cares about the medium?
But at the same time...
Exactly.
Oh.
I was just going to say, who cares about the medium when the argument being presented when that's being discussed is a side-on representation of Muppet vision maths with a geometric horizon and no perspective. That's sod all to do with optics. So who cares about the conditions?
Exactly.
It's irrelevant. It's non sequitur in that regard. It's nothing to do with the weather conditions because 7/6 and any derivation thereof is nothing to do with weather.
Well, they never managed to actually close the loop or the gap between terrestrial refraction and the actual bending of light. They never actually have built any kind of framework to even explain how exactly it is working and why it would bend 7/6 R. There's nothing. There's just nothing.
Bend is a terrible word in the first place because you wouldn't exactly describe it as bending when you see the phenomena of, like, you put a pencil in the water and half of it is sticking out and you're like, whoa, what's going on there? The light's
Deviated.
bending.
The accurate description would be
bend.
deviated from straight as opposed to bent. The reason we're using the word bent is because they bend the light at a rate of r. So they're bending it when they equivocate their terrestrial sphere-shaped bending light at a rate of r, which it isn't, with light deviating from straight when described in Snell's law.
Yeah, so the term that you need to focus on is has to. Not that it is, but it has to. If their axiom is true, that Earth is a globe, then it has to bend. They don't need to prove it to you because their axiom is automatically true, because they arrive at their axiom after they put it into this process, and then they need their axiom in the beginning. So it's circular reasoning from front to back to forth.
And when that's tabled, i.e. not on the shelf in a box forgotten about by everybody, their axiom insists that all light's bent. So they're never going to achieve a straight line to anything to do celestial navigation when they start telling us about the straight lines they'd use on a globe. It's already been debunked by the Black Swan.
Oh dear.
Now, requiring a false premise that's proved logically incoherent by the rationale to achieve it, but you need that conclusion in order to do the rationale in the first place, has been hereto forever forth dubbed the proto-error.
Love it. Proto-error.
I was just about to get there. I've been kind of explaining the fallacy. Did you word it? Did you put it together yourself, or is there a citation for it? Because all I know is it makes sense in form, and I've explained it. And people, they're with it. They're like, yeah, makes sense.
I think he was asking you, Citation Police, if you made that up on the spot or if the proto-error is actually something you could cite.
It's called precursor error, but precursor can be used in the word proto because it both means before or the antecedent. So we just, did a little linguistic twist to call it proto in honor of proto-fad.
So it's the precursor error. You follow that, Eli?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, when you're talking about the Big Bang, when you're talking about
in this particular.
Go on, citation.
On this particular type of error, it's that so you have an error in your reasoning from the get, and as you express your reasoning, the error will come out no matter what. It's like unavoidable.
Hey, just real quick, Citation, check your messages when you get a chance. No rush.
So if my premise is that we can travel through a wardrobe to Narnia, and then we're going to argue about how potentially the lamp with no gas lines to it burns forever, I would have to at some point acknowledge and accept that there isn't actually a wardrobe we're going to travel through, but we must all accept that there is for me to argue about how the gas can potentially not be needed in that gas lamp. So, are we all of the acceptance that we can travel through a wardrobe to a place called Narnia, so we can now enter into a discussion about how the gas lamp may or may not work in Narnia when we arrive?
Why wouldn't we?
Wait, hold on. Can't we just talk about whether circles are circles?
Yeah, let's distract away from the actual argument. Let's ask. I tell you what, I'll delete my channel if you can show that circles aren't circles.
Nathan, don't get hung up on that.
Don't get hung up on the flat plane we must have and is described two-dimensionally by way of the word circle. Let's not concern ourselves with that. Let's ask people whether or not they can prove that that two-dimensional circle is actually a flat two-dimensional item. Yeah, that's a much better rebuttal than I was expecting. Not.
Speaking of circles,
There's a lot of people on Discord.
Speaking of circles, that first slide in the pre-show I put up by Practical Air Navigation. After the cover, it's the image. You want to show that again?
Yeah, give me a second. I think I'm in a different chat. I think that's why I couldn't find it earlier.
No problem.
The first one.
It's the one labeled, the book cover is U.S. Department of Commerce Practical Air Navigation, and then it's the image, the following image, U.S. Coast and Geodetic Survey has that.
Okay, it's up.
Okay, so as you can see here, these are circle of equal altitudes from a top view down. And first one is a radius of 30, if you look sideways. Second one is a radius of 45. And the last one says radius of 60. Okay, now what is that from? Well, 90, if you go to the first one again, 90 minus 60 equals 30. Go to the second one, 90 minus 45 is 45. And then 90 minus 30 elevation, right? Angle of elevation is 60. And so the top image shows a different viewpoint, a side-on view, so to speak. And you see the 90 there, and you see all of the angles off of a flat baseline. You can't get angles off of a curved adjacent. This is from your own books. Shame on you for not knowing what a 90 is.
So I've put up another one that they put in their book to try and deceive their audience, whichever publication it was, where it's got great circle distance, but then it puts a 90 against it, like that's possible.
Yeah, I'm on that one now. This is the one with the bulge. Now, how in the world do you get a 90 with a bulge?
You don't.
See, this is the trickery. And Eli and I are going to have a good time on Sunday when he interviews me, is as I was buying their books and reading their books, I kept seeing stuff like this. And I'm saying, wait a minute, this is kind of like the law of non-contradiction. How can you say one thing and then with a picture show something exact opposite of what you just said?
This picture summarizes the housekeeping question beautifully. How can you get an elevation angle measurement? That's this. With a curved adjacent. This. This is not an angle. An angle's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. So to measure this angle, labelled B, this line must be straight. Further to that, if this is your point that you're measuring, with sextant being the label, then you must have 90 degrees not only to this position, which you haven't in this diagram because this isn't 90 anymore, it's got a curve beneath it, but also to a position over here, to a different star. And you've also got 90 degrees to that. And one over here. So all of this area must all be flat and straight to the position below the star, and below the star there must be 90 degrees, again affirming that it must be flat. And it's the only method you can acquire 90 degrees and the angle. So when we say, how do you get an elevation angle measurement, that's this angle from a curved surface. And the answer is, you don't. And then when we say, shh, don't mention 90, it's because of this depiction. You can't get 90 off a curve. Go ahead, John.
I just said, but it's much more important that we talk about whether a circle is actually a circle.
If we had absolutely no rebuttal to this and we were an anti-flat earther and needed to obfuscate away from the actual argument, that is to say you can't get an elevation angle if the ground beneath your feet is curving away from you and the horizon represents a sphere edge that's been debunked by the black swan and you don't have anymore. If all those things are true, then we better be talking about whether or not flat two-dimensional objects are flat or not.
Right, and if you can prove that a circle is a circle, I'll delete my channel.
What?
Talking about Crane.
But this is always pointless.
Talking about
Oxygen can be used on the globe with terrestrial refraction. Doesn't matter whether there is no R value. Okay, nobody gives a shit that there's no R value. Whatever.
celestial refraction with refraction that's based on R, but you don't care about the R value.
Yes.
No, you must, because it includes it.
I won't be told what to do, yo.
Sorry, who was
I
it
don't
earlier
care
that said...
about no
So, hold
R
on.
value.
I'll get citation police to address you, Arwin, because, yeah, you can spear off and make your own religion that doesn't need an R value for an R-based refraction.
But the R value is still there. It's just no way to
So
actually
you do need
measure
it.
it.
Wow, it sounds like Charles.
No, we do.
Sounds like you require a categorical incoherence for your conclusion. Summarily dismissed. Next.
No.
Yeah.
It works flat.
You don't care about the R value. If you don't care about it...
You have the flat plane. You have the flat plane, thanks to terrestrial refraction. It's perfectly flat. It seems so. And it's an optical instrument, so what you see is all you need. Doesn't matter whether it is actually not flat in a sphere. As long as it seems flat, it works.
Yeah, but the measurement you're saying is an optical way of getting it flat isn't an optical measurement. We covered this for about 25 minutes, Arwin. In great baller fashion, you've ignored every word we've said when we've said there's a bait and switch between terrestrial refraction, which needs R that you don't care about, but simultaneously must have and need for the refraction you're inferring, which isn't optical.
Yeah.
But you're saying optically I can get it flat with this non-optical refraction in maths.
Yeah, but just because we can't get the R value for terrestrial refraction doesn't mean that it doesn't have an R value.
No, it does.
Bravo,
it is.
Arwin.
It's defined. Unless you've got your own religion, which you haven't.
No, but the thing is, it works. It works every time. So it doesn't matter. You can't prove it. You can just deduce it that it works.
Okay,
You got that so far away from the point.
No. You haven't.
Yeah. Welcome to Anti-Flat Earth. Welcome to Anti-Flat Earth.
You haven't proven nothing. Nathan,
No, he
go to
hasn't.
the one.
He hasn't proven anything,
go-
but he's caused a bit of confusion and a bit of obfuscation and managed to say that it is still one, and then welcomed us all to Anti-Flat Earth. Aptly so.
Yeah, move forward to the book that I showed, Navigation Dictionary, HO Pub number 220, and go to the next page. Tell me when you're there where it's giving meanings to words.
What's it say at the top? Revolver?
No, just go forward till you see the reddish book cover, Navigation Dictionary, and then go to the next page.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to read. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't matter.
Excuse me. Right sphere. You see right sphere? The
Yes.
celestial sphere, as it appears to an observer at the equator, appeared to rise vertically above the horizon. Right triangle, period. A triangle, one angle of which is 90. Bye-bye, Arwin.
Excuse me? It appears to be?
I will excuse you.
Appears to be? Yeah.
I
Because
will
it's
excuse you.
optics. So terrestrial...
I'll go up a few. Right angle, an angle of 90. Is 90 optics?
Can you stop? Stop. Just, Arwin, please.
You're doing it in the real world, aren't you? So you're using your sight to do it, right?
Arwin, right, what you're doing is ignoring completely us detailing how refraction is not 7/6R and 7/6R is not optical. But your opener was to say that it was. So you're just becoming frustrating.
Just because you can't prove it doesn't mean it's not real.
But it's...
Come on.
That's not, no, but what you said is absolutely vague. What is it specifically?
Anything that he's talking about with a non sequitur.
Terrestrial refraction, which makes everything look perfectly flat, even though it is actually
Which is defined and needs R. So let's just stop this nonsense. Can we stop now?
It's not nonsense.
Didn't you just explain? Wait,
It's the
didn't Nathan
majority
just
of the
explain
world's
terrestrial refraction?
I thought it was better than anything I've heard back, but still, it's not about apparent anything. It's a geometric measurement from an apparent.
Yeah, there you go.
Instrument.
Right. So you're
From a
lending
visual-
it from appearances. So yeah, then terrestrial refraction applies, and you have your flat
No.
world,
He's
which
pointing
is
out how it
based
isn't.
on spherical
Wait
geometry.
a second.
Don't
Didn't
take his
Nathan just
negative.
explain terrestrial refraction?
Hello. Does Arwin have to trigger you all in this manner? No, he's pointing out how a negative isn't going to immediately be spun by you, Arwin, into a positive that makes your claim work when he's proving how it doesn't. Don't just immediately infer that that proves your point when it debunks it.
Well, it does.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Arwin,
Just because you say it doesn't mean it actually doesn't. It does.
Okay, because...
Okay, let me try again.
Hold on, John. Because
everything looks perfectly flat. So the geometry works out. Once
not
you
optics.
apply terrestrial refraction, doesn't matter that we can't attain an R value. It has to be there.
okay, it having to be there in the maths and not being able to attain it is the point we're making.
Well, then you agree with me. The Earth is a ball.
No, we're pointing out how geometric values in maths that can't be measured only exist in maths and aren't optical. You're saying if I haven't got an R, it doesn't mean that there can't not be one, because we've got the value in our maths that we're using and can't acquire from way of the geometry we can't measure. It's just the you're just going round and round in your own paradox for the fun of it.
The end results work out. Isn't that the only thing that really matters in the end?
Work out, as in can be measured?
As in, you can...
The answer is
Yeah, they
no.
do.
The end results.
No,
Okay,
that's-
so if
no,
I use
Eli,
the
don't
formula for the...
Eli, taking the question paradigm that doesn't work if he ignores all points we've laid down thus far. And you're going to go, oh, well, it doesn't work. Let's start begging the question with him. No. Arwin, you'll need the R value, won't you?
Well, eventually, at some point in history, there should be a way beyond using radio or light in order to actually measure things, also beyond math.
Who
And
can name the
then
fallacy?
maybe one
Stop.
day we
Don't
can
bump us.
actually get the real R
Stop,
value.
Jesus, Arwin. Who can name the fallacy? Anybody?
Argument from ignorance.
Appeal to the future.
Oh, yep.
No, you should have gave a
Come on,
second
Nathan.
chance. I was
You
about
did
to
it
say
too
it.
fast. I was about to say it too. You know what? You're greedy, Nathan.
Yeah, John has already got to be pretty up on fallacy.
It's called appeal ex ante.
Appeal ex ante.
It means
What
appeal
does she
to
have to do with it?
What does that mean?
Ask ante who?
Appeal to the precedent before it occurred.
No, he's
Colloquially
appealing,
known as appeal to the future.
no, he's appealing to the future. He's saying somebody will acquire the measurement in the future.
It's
I was going
called
to say
ex
appeal
ante.
to future.
It's
Yeah, I
called
was
ex
just
ante.
soothing them
Oh,
that
gosh.
you went before they
Yeah, but-
did. That's all.
Look, the appeal to the future is one thing, right? Because you guys insist on physical measured proof, right? But we already know it works because everything works out when we use it.
Use
Oh,
what? What's it?
then
Hold on, what's it?
citation is right then.
Hold on,
That
what's
means
it?
citation is right about what he just said.
They appealed to ex ante because they already cried uncle.
We don't know that until Arwin clarifies what it is. What is it?
Oh, dude, hold on, that was such a sick
The
pun.
radius
What?
value that we apply in a model of ball Earth.
He started saying it while there was still noise from other people. Typical baller. Do you want to repeat that nice and clearly?
I'm waiting for somebody to interrupt.
Yeah,
me.
no, I know you are. You're waiting for someone to rumpus you, so you don't have to say you can say the beginning, devastating bit while there's a bit of confusion.
What was I going to say again? Oh yeah, radius value, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember what I was saying. I'm sorry.
You'll need it. You'll need that R value for everything you're asserting. You're just going round and round in a paradox you named after yourself.
Yes.
Just going round and round in the same paradox and hoping that someone's going to latch their hooks into something you throw out spuriously while going around in the same circle.
Oh, my goodness.
So far,
No,
Eli's
I'm trying
latched.
to fix it. I'm trying to fix it.
Or was measured many times.
Can we update Arwin's
from the
paradox?
Can we update the
Oh,
Arwinian
now I
paradox?
remember what I was going to say. Now that you're all interrupting, yeah, it's the R value. We already know what it's going to turn out to be. We already know what it's going to turn out to be because
it was measured.
it works out
many
in our
times from the
calculations
ISS.
every time.
Many
See?
times.
Thank you, Brian.
Perfect.
Yeah,
So
from
he's
the
got,
ISS,
yeah. He's got Arwin and Brian both on the same vibe, same tip. Just talk quite a lot while the devastating bit about him needing an, according to now Brian, having R from the ISS, right?
Yeah,
no, you haven't. So
from
just
the
step one.
ISS, yeah.
We now are firmly established that Arwin definitely needs R. Definitely. And he's saying he can get it from the ISS, right?
Yeah. Angular size measurements from the ISS. They've done hundreds of them.
Well,
Yeah, but it
obvious.
technically doesn't work though, because every type of optical attempt or even radio scanning attempt to size up the geometry of something, it's going to be subjected to terrestrial refraction. So you can't really use visuals or radar to establish an exact geometry. That's the universal problem that comes with terrestrial refraction.
So let's
I think you're incorrect.
So let's all assume that we're measuring a sphere from a sky vacuum with a radius value, and that radius value is being used in terrestrial refraction for Arwin to argue the point that it's very difficult to argue from an area that doesn't exist. And the reasons why it's quite difficult. But ultimately, whilst all assuming, we've got seven to talk about, right?
Well, there isn't really a problem. Arwin is I'm sorry, Arwin, but I have to just correct you there. It isn't really a refraction problem from the ISS because of the elevation and altitude of it. That's why we know 5 to 6% of the accepted R value with angular size measurements from the ISS.
And the value that it's within 5% of. Did that get measured, Brian?
Arwin.
This is Arwin's argument. Yes, I understand entirely, Brian. Yes, Arwin. So, where did we get that measurement from? That Brian?
Arwin's been telling you for the past. Arwin's been telling you. You just start listening to him. They're not listening to Arwin.
Thank you, Perky. Go ahead, Arwin.
There's a universal problem, and that is you can't use optics or radar to actually establish the exact size or the geometry of Earth, right? You can't do that because of terrestrial refraction. It doesn't allow.
Do you know who does
for
this
that.
double act? Like Brian and Arwin have just decided to. I don't know if they just want to annoy me, but Rumpus and George Netanyahu have this exact double act going on. So
correct.
Here, Rumpus will assert something. And subtly, within the paradigm that they need everyone in the audience to accept, argue a minute detail that they disagree about. Again, the whole time, everybody's listening, making the same question that they're arguing within.
Yeah, well, Rumpus has always been a great inspiration to me.
Man, how much airtime do you need, Perky? Or you interrupt? You're major interrupt. So
yeah, Alwyn, you're not invited.
Hold on, I'm pretty sure we should make this conversation about how much.
Pete and Perky just proved that ballers are incapable of giving a measured response.
Oh man, that's funny. You know, what's funny about that is when
we can only give a calculated response. You go, Elijah.
Let's see if we can rein Arwin in. Hold on.
That's what
just take a breath.
Is. Science just like it corrects itself. It's never a consistent situation. It just corrects itself. Yeah. So we wouldn't want to give an exact value to the radius of the Earth, as that would then possibly change. So if we gave an exact value and it did possibly change, then that wouldn't be very good, would it? So that's why we never gave an exact value measurement, but we were always within 5% of the value. Isn't that right, Arwin?
Right. Well, it can be calculated and derived, but never really measured. But hey, calculation and derivatives work just fine. Right? There's like a standardized accepted radius seems to be working out just fine in the calculations. So
exactly. It's just
in this case,
correcting itself.
In this case, well, unlike with science, where someone claims that there's a cause for a natural phenomena, This is to find the parabolic equations or the formulas for the distance to the horizon. That's literally all.
5%. Where's the measurement? And then claimed didn't really know what he was claiming, and that we should argue with tenth about who's interrupting who. That's how the conversations just progress. You're going to need R to claim it's within 5% of your terrestrial refraction, which has got R in it in the first place. Back to Alwyn will now attempt to circle round a few times around this paradox, right? Anyway,
again,
just
the
before
R
you do,
value can only be deduced, right?
John proved
all for it.
John proved with his kitchen. John proved with his kitchen. You're going to need a flat kitchen first before you get a spherical R value kitchen.
Okay, just what
that's what I was getting.
Just before you do, the show is predominantly focused, or for a large chunk of it, on the bait and switch with Chi's terrestrial refraction, which is Arwen using this in circular form over and over again, which I'm going to hopefully break away from now, by giving a couple of examples. One back to, as we just brought them up, Rumpus and George Nesanyuk. When it comes to this particular bait and switch, they split the roles. So the task of detailing refraction, that would be light deviating from straight and showing it, talking about it, that's left to George. And then when it comes to talking about 7/6 of the radius value in Muppet Vision, that's left to Rumpus. Now, that's done because it's so, at least to me, obvious when the bait and switch happens. And I'm just going to play you this little clip, so everyone pin your ears back just for a few seconds.
That's happening is by using different colors. So it's not a matter of if it's happening or not, it's the rate at which it does. That's why we use different colors, right, Nick?
Yeah, well, that tells you basically how the wavelength of the light affects it. And that leads to a thing called the green flash. Are you familiar with the green flash?
I'm going to narrate this slightly and say what we've got discussed currently by Mick West is refraction. So he's opened the suitcase and he's offering something to you. Yeah? Real refraction's what's currently being discussed by Mick West. Just want to make that clear.
On the sun.
Yeah, it's when the sun's setting, right?
Yes, we're familiar with green flash.
Yeah, and that's the difference there between the red light and the green light kind of shows you really how much the sun has been refracted. You can do the math because we know the different refractions. It's only like 1% or so for the difference between the red and the green. So you can tell by the size of the green flash how much the entire sun has actually been refracted. It turns out it's been refracted by an amount that's about equal to the diameter of the sun. So when you see the sun just above the horizon, in reality, under the conventional model, it's actually just below the horizon. It's been refracted upwards by the standard atmospheric refraction.
By standard atmospheric refraction. So light bending at a rate of an R value, therein is Mick West the most slick bait and switch con artist when it comes to refraction. No, Mick. You just detailed refraction and then told them that based on a model it's 7/6R. Sod all to do with light refracting and everything to do with R. So that's the bait and switch.
It's a pretty smooth transition.
Wow, when you lay it down like that, boy, it's right there.
Hold on.
We're holding.
Let it get past you. He said that chromatic aberration is why you can prove that it's refracting. So where's that evidence in terrestrial refraction?
It isn't. You said it was a category error earlier. I describe it as a bait and switch.
Well,
that's the point. There's no evidence that this is happening in a terrestrial refraction manner whatsoever. It only exists in a model that they present you after they do the bait switch to you. Then you look at the model and you say, oh, look, you've got some orthographic lines that seem to indicate this would be possible if the Earth radius was a different size.
I was going to say earlier when Arwen first started, and it kind of got rumpused a bit, was when you're talking about an altitude angle, you're using an optical instrument for a geometric measurement. So it doesn't matter how curved your adjacent is. If it's curved, you cannot acquire an angle.
An altitude angle measurement is, in essence, an elevation angle measurement. They're the same thing, just for anybody who's listening.
Right. So if you want to acquire the angle, you can't invoke a R-based refraction.
Why not?
Because then the bloody
Because
line's
it's
not
geometric.
straight, is it?
Right.
Two straight lines meeting at a vertex, one of them with inferred terrestrial refraction deviating that line from straight. If it's deviated from straight, it's not going to give you an angle, Arwin. It must be straight to measure an angle. That's our argument.
No, it might not be straight in the model, but it's straight in the actual measurement, which is optics based.
So in reality, we have a flat, straight baseline we can physically measure in reality when we're standing on the surface of Earth. But in the model, it wouldn't be, it would be curved. And therefore, the model's wrong, Arwin.
No, terrestrial refraction corrects that.
No, terrestrial refraction deviates light from straight when you infer that a Muppet vision representation of a number based on R is actually the same as light moving from straight to not straight. It isn't. They're very different things, Arwin. And they're certainly not going to be inferred that when using an R value to bend light, in Muppet vision that's not actually physical light bending, gives you a straight line. It doesn't.
Well, it appears to.
No, it can't. It can't. That's the problem. It has to.
Well, let's get to like a real ball-tard that's at coffee house in the house, or coffee hose in the house. He says a curved adjacent is irrelevant. Can you come off mute and please explain how it's irrelevant? Coffee hose. Do it now. Ten seconds. Three, two, one. Bye. You can continue.
They're just chat skanking. Doesn't want to defend his claim that a curved adjacent's irrelevant. Well, you want it to be irrelevant. That's projection and wishful thinking. Because irrelevant, no, it's necessitated by your sphere belief and not possible when performing celestial navigation. Therefore, what? Oh, it's irrelevant then. No, it's the debunking of your sphere belief. Not irrelevant. Wishful thinking, my friend.
No,
So far we got
no, it is irrelevant because of terrestrial refraction. It makes it straight.
No, so back to the terrestrial refraction point. Not to run straight through you, but as Citation pointed out, all you're doing is increasing the radius. So effectively, you don't have the geometric horizon isn't the one tied to the model because you just get a new one, which would still give you a tangent to just a bigger circle. I don't even know why the bent thing, I really don't get it.
But this is not about establishing Earth curve, okay? You can't use the horizon to establish Earth curve.
Horizon is bloody Earth curve in the geometric world of sphere Earth. What are you talking about?
Because of terrestrial
Starting your own
refraction, you
religion.
can't use the
Starts at
horizon to establish
Arwin.
Earth curve.
I was just getting on.
It's not the geometric horizon. You can't use it.
Well, that's Earth curve. You need to prove that's a physical obstruction to boats and buildings, not deny that it's anything to do with it.
Yeah, the refracted horizon blocks things just nicely. And
No,
we
it
can
doesn't.
calculate from that where the geometric horizon is.
No.
This is a red herring. This is a red herring. All this is a red herring. Because it doesn't matter if you have one curved line or two curved lines. How do you end up with a straight line?
You don't. That's the point.
Yeah, it's
No,
all
you
red
do.
herring. Everything he's doing right now.
No,
Owen's
it
trying to
appears like a
infer
straight line.
straightness from curvedness. This isn't the paradox. This is just Darwin's nonsense.
No, this is the consequence of that paradox.
You're saying
Just because it
I know what you're
appears
doing.
straight
I know
doesn't.
what you're doing. You're taking what they infer when they say, "Oh, look how flat it looks." That's because the light has been bent with 7/6R. That's why it looks so flat. Okay.
But
yeah,
this is because you don't understand it. We don't
Okay,
need
thank
the
you,
straight
Brian.
line.
So that ad hoc explanation that includes them saying, look how flat it appears, yeah? Arwin's taking that to say, I can use that rate of R refraction used to justify why it looks so bloody flat, to say I can use that as a geometric flat line to get an angle from. It's absolutely absurd. He'll keep banging this until someone points it out. I assure you, Arwin will entirely ignore my last statement.
Oh, you're pretty much right. I don't see the problem, though.
Well,
I'll buy that. Thank you, Arwin.
Yeah, I can give you the problem.
Yes, please. Go ahead. Citation, please.
Okay. Premise 1, all light curves. Premise 2, I need straight light to prove all light curves.
Yeah, that's a good summary of the paradox. Not bad.
No, but you don't have to enter into the paradox.
Why not?
You're still missing it.
Why don't we have to?
Can
why?
you get an angle from a curved adjacent?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
You can. Demonstrate.
Premise one. All adjacents are curved. Premise 2, I need a straight adjacent to prove it's curved. Therefore, it's curved. There you go.
Have you ever heard of a tangent plane? Have you ever heard of a tangent plane?
My God. Citation Police has just beautifully summarised John's 2 videos on this very subject in about a sentence and a half. And everyone's talking through him like he's done something wrong. What the hell? He's just summarised your videos, John.
I heard him.
So he said that you can't measure an angle from a curved adjacent?
That's premise 2. Premise 1, all adjacents are curved. Do we all understand premise 1?
That's the problem.
It's not a problem. It's a premise.
It can't be.
No, I know it can't be, but that's the point. That's what they're laying down. They're laying down a flawed premise in the first instance, which is why we ask them to demonstrate a curved adjacent.
Well, that's violating the definition of angle.
Yeah, that's what they've got to do.
It's been demonstrated. It's been demonstrated for you many times.
But see, that's the thing. It's never. You can't demonstrate it. It's a violation of
reality.
It'll never happen.
You're missing the point. A
None
tangent
of you
by
seems to have ever heard of
definition.
a tangent plane.
A tangent by definition is flat, right?
Did
Or
someone
straight.
Irish up your coffee a bit more than usual, Brian? What's going on?
Well, Arwen seems to have stepped out, so.
You're just having fun.
Yeah, I'll shut up if you want.
No, I'm not moaning. I'm not moaning at Arwen either. Me expressing my frustration isn't me saying stop when Arwen does this circular do-si-do of his paradox, his namesake paradox.
But my point is, you can't even enter into the paradox because you need to measure an angle first.
And I'm glad you're here to say it. You're going to need a flat plane for that paradox, is what you're saying.
Yes, that was what I kept trying to say, because you can't assert a tangent plane without the plane. You can't assert angle measurements without the plane.
Yeah, if you want that paradox. Sorry, John.
It only has to be apparent.
Right.
though.
Okay, hold on.
Go ahead,
Stop
Brian.
right there. Stop right there. You can't do it without a plane, correct? So that means if I can show you a plane, then that means I've done it, right?
Which means all adjacents are curved.
No, it's technically incorrect. You only need a apparent flat plane
Oh,
to do that.
give up on this. Arwen, come on, just give up on it. Apparent flat plane isn't a straight line with a vertex meeting another straight line. That is not what an apparent, oh, look how flat it looks. That's because 7/6R bent it to look flat. Therefore, that flat appearing 7/6R bent light actually from a sphere derived in Muppet vision means I can use that as a straight line angle measuring device. No, Arwen, that's the third time. Please give it up.
Yeah, but everybody uses it. And
No, they
if
don't.
everybody uses it, that
God.
means it works.
He's got me going
So-
high-pitched. He has actually got me annoyed.
If you want to have the paradox, you're
That's an
going to need a
appeal to
flat plane.
consensus.
Yeah, but if
Well,
you
that's
want
correct.
to have the paradox, you're going to need a flat plane.
That's correct. Also,
Yeah.
I think that was definitely your point from at least a week ago, wasn't it, Brian?
Yeah. Because you can't create.
My
you
eyeball
can't
just
create
twitched out of my
powers.
head.
Say again, John.
My eyeball just twitched out of my head there for a second.
Yeah, you made that a point only 15 minutes ago, but it was definitely Brian's from a week ago. I'm pretty sure of that.
If you just go by appearances and not geometry, then it all works.
My God, 4th time's a charm, eh, Arwin? With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!